Hey guys, Dave here. Welcome to the Centurions Review, the punk rock band of wargame review institutions. This is Dungeons & Dragons Ravenloft, the board game. We're going to do a playthrough here and then followed by a quick review. Let me explain what's going on here. We're doing the first adventure here, which is called Escape the Tomb. Basically, you have to escape the tomb by getting to the tile that says the secret stairway. The secret stairway is the 11th tile on the deck, but there's stuff that can place another tile before it, so it may take more than 11 tiles to get to it. So let's talk about some of the abilities of our character here. We're using the fighter, which is Dragonborn, and the abilities he's using are the standard abilities. You can choose the abilities you have. I'm just taking the default ones here. It's got a utility here, Unstoppable, which says you regain 2 hit points. Daily Power, Precision Strike, attack one adjacent monster. If you miss, do not flip this over, where you do 2 damage, or Tide of Iron, which is an at-will power that does 1 damage, or Cleave, which does 1 damage, and then Dragon's Breath, which attacks each monster on your tile, and when that's done, you would turn it over. You get 2 healing surges per game, and this certain scenario here is solitaire, and he'll get 2 healing surges. So what happens is when he runs out of healing points, he can use a healing surge, and let me show you his card here. He'll get 5 additional hit points when he does a healing surge each time. So he's starting out on Strahd's Crypt here. Let's go over the sequence of play. Sequence of play starts out with the hero phase. If you have 0 hit points, you use a healing surge. That's if you're basically practically dead. And then we could perform one of the following actions: move and make an attack, attack and then move or make 2 moves. And then for the exploration phase, if you occupy a square adjacent to an unexplored edge, go to step 2, otherwise go to the villain phase. Step 2 is draw a dungeon tile and place it with its triangle adjacent to the unexplored edge. And then you would draw a monster card and place that monster on a new tile. As far as the villain phase, if you didn't place a tile during the exploration phase, or if you placed a tile with a black triangle, you draw an encounter card. Encounter cards are what really hurt you in this game. If a villain is in play, activate it. Otherwise, activate each monster and trap you control. Traps are treated like monsters in this. It's kind of a weird thing. We'll get into it later. Turn. So he can either move and attack, or attack and move. Oops, wrong side of the card. So he's going to move to the edge here, which is all he can do for this turn during his hero phase. And flip it over and go to the exploration phase. Since he's adjacent to an unoccupied edge, we put a dungeon tile down. Oh, and there's one other thing I forgot to mention. There's a time track for this turn, and each time you place a card or a tile with a white triangle on it, the time track moves up 1, and when it gets to 5, Strahd enters the battlefield, and he's going to start hunting you down. So, but if you place one with a black triangle, that means that you get an encounter. So basically in this, no matter what you place, something bad's going to happen to you. Alright, so let's place the dungeon tile. This one has a white arrow, so we go here and we move it up 1 on the time track. So now that we've placed one, we have to place a monster, so we draw a monster card. And the monster card is Rat Swarm. Let me get one. And we place that right there. Alright. So we didn't draw one with a black triangle, so there's no encounter. So we're going to activate the monster. So here's the Rat Swarm. So if the Rat Swarm is within 1 tile of the hero, it moves the closest hero and attacks them. So it does. It's within 1 tile. And its attack is a +7. And my AC is a 17. So if he gets a 17 or greater, he's hits me successfully. So 7 + 4 is 11. He misses. That's good. So we go back to the hero phase. He's going to move and make an attack, so he's going to move to here. And we'll choose which attack he does here. He'll do a Tide of Iron, attack one adjacent monster. So we'll do a +8. So that's an 18, and this has an AC of 12. So 10 plus 8 is 18, so this rat swarm is destroyed. So you keep the rat swarm card, because if you see, this has 1 experience points. When you have 5 experience points total, you can use that to cancel an encounter card. Alright, so he gets a treasure. Let's see what that is. Play this fortune immediately. Place this card face up on top of either the encounter deck or the monster deck. The next time a card would be drawn from the chosen deck, discard this card instead. So I'm going to place it on the monster deck. One other thing about the experience, if you roll a 20 when you're trying to get rid of a trap or destroy a monster, you can try to level up if you have 5 of these experience points, so that's another thing you can do. So this is destroyed here. Alright, so we start with the hero phase. So he's going to move to here. We're going to do his exploration phase. It's a white exploration card, so the time track moves up 1. And we'll place a monster on this, but since I drew this card before, that's placed instead of the monster, so we get no monster. That's good. So we go to the exploration phase, nothing happens, and no monster activates. So we go back here. So he's going to move to here. And we go back to the exploration phase. So he'll place this. He gets a black here, so there'll be an encounter this turn. There's also going to be a monster. He placed the monster on the bones here. The monster is a wolf. So it goes right there on the bones there. So we're going to do our encounter first. Draw the encounter. Overwhelming Terror. If a start tile is not in play, discard this card. Otherwise, place each hero 2 tiles closer to the start tile. Alright, so this just gets discarded, and I have to draw a new encounter card because there's no encounter card. So now there's a trap. I hate these traps. Place the fire trap marker here. Let me find that in the encounter section here. Traps in this game act like monsters, which is utterly ridiculous, because a trap just keeps going off each turn that you're on the tile with it. So I place this here. Each hero on this tile takes 2 damage. So when it gets to the villain phase, alright, so activate each monster and trap you control. So the monster will go first, and he will move here to attack him. If he's within 2 of a hero, he moves adjacent to the closest hero and attacks that hero with a pounce. Pounce has a +7. So that's a 16, which isn't good enough to hit him because he's an AC of 17, so that's good. So now we'll do the trap. Trigger the trap during the villain phase. Each hero on this tile takes 2 damage. It's one thing I hate about this game. It has stuff where you just automatically take damage and there's nothing you can do about it. Alright, so he takes 2 damage. Alright, so we're back to the hero phase, so instead of attacking, he can try to get rid of the fire trap. He's not going to bother, he's just going to move on to the next tile. So he moves over here, there's no zones of control. So he moves and he wants to attack. So he's going to do a Tide of Iron with a +8 in the hope of hitting the wolf, who has an AC of 14. So he rolls. He gets a 14 plus 8, 22. So he does 1 damage to the wolf. And the wolf has HP of 1, so the wolf is dead. So he draws a treasure card. Here's a treasure card. Wand of Teleportation. Choose a tile within 1 tile of you. Place each monster on the chosen tile on a tile within 3 tiles of you. So this is like irrelevant, so it's a worthless treasure. Alright, so we go back to hero, excuse me, we go to villain phase. Alright, since he didn't place anything, there's going to be an encounter. Howling Ghost. This has a +9 and a damage of 2. A hero hit by this attack can flip an unused daily power over to prevent this damage. Alright, so he's got a +9. Then he rolls an 11, which becomes a 20. Should he flip over the... he'll flip over this daily power to prevent the damage. There might be cards later that will allow me to flip that back over. It's basically how the game works. Alright. Let's go back here to sequence of play. So he's going to move to here. And then he's going to place a tile here. Move some of this stuff out of the way. And it's white. So the first thing that happens is this chime track moves up 1. And we're going to place a monster there. Monster here is a spider. Goes right here. There is no encounter this turn, but the spider, if he's in with 1 tile of a hero, it attacks the closest hero with an acidic web, and that's what he does. So that's an 18 total. Yeah, he hits with the acidic web, so that does 1 damage, and I'm slowed. I discard this at the end of my next hero phase. Alright, so I'm slowed. And I will do my next hero phase. My speed is 2, so I move into him. So I'll move to here. And it looks like that only has 1 hit point of 1, so I'll do my Tide of Iron against them +8. 8 and 8 and 16, so the spider is dead. And I get this card here. So I got 4 experience points. And let me draw a treasure. Play this immediately. Your hero regains 1 hit point. That's cool. Place this here. Alright, so there's going to be an encounter this turn. Place a new monster adjacent to the active hero. So let's draw a monster card to see what it is. And it's a wolf. Alright, that's adjacent, so it's going to attack this turn. Attacks with a bite. That's a +9, and it can do up to 2 damage. That sucks. 9 and 1 is 10. Does no damage. That's good. Alright. Let's go back to the sequence of play. So I'm going to attack this thing. He takes 1 damage to kill. So I'm going to do a Tide of Iron +8. 22. This is dead. And I get a treasure card. Play this blessing immediately until the end of your next hero phase. Each hero gains a +2 to attack rolls. That's nice. Alright, so there's going to be an encounter since I wasn't near the edge. Crushing walls. It's a trap. See if I can find this here. So during the monster phase, this does a +6 attack to me. Okay, that's not enough to hit me, but on a miss it still does 1 damage, so I take 1 damage. And the next turn it will do that too. That's one thing about traps here, they're ongoing, which is kind of weird. Alright, so we're on to a new turn here. Oh, by the way, when he got this wolf, he killed that wolf and he got a treasure. Forgot to mention that. Your hero regains 1 hit point. Oh, no. He did that before. My mistake. Place a new monster adjacent to the active hero. Never mind. Alright. Never mind that. So he's just going to move to here, and we're going to place a new tile. This has a black arrow, so there's going to be an encounter this turn, but there's also a monster. This is a wraith. Let me get that out of the box. Wraith goes here. And let's read what it does. So first we got to do the encounter before we do anything. Choose 1 monster on any hero's tile. The monster immediately activates. That sucks. So if he's within 1 tile of the hero, it moves adjacent to the closest hero and attacks him with a life-draining claw. So he moves here and gets a free attack with a +6. So that's a 14 + 6 is 20. So that does 3 damage. Yuck. So I had 7, so now I'll have 4. And now he does his regular attack. And that's going to hit 2. So 3 more damage. That sucked. And in addition to that, there's a crushing wall, so it attacks each hero on the tile. So we'll do that hits 2, so it does 2. So the hero is knocked. Excuse my language. So he's down. But next turn he can spend a healing surge. Alright. So the next turn starts and he spends a healing surge, and this healing surge gives him 5 hit points. And he's going to move to there. So he gets away from that damn wall, because otherwise it would go off again. And now he's going to attack. Let's see. Yeah, everything he has here does just 1, or excuse me, it does only 1 damage. So he's going to do the +8. So he does 1 damage to the Wraith. And at the end of his hero phase, he's going to spend this one Unstoppable to regain 2 hit points. So there's going to be an encounter. Dart trap. Wonderful. Goes on here. So first the Wraith's going to attack. +6. Misses. So now the dart trap goes off. And here's one thing I hate about this game. Notice here, it's a +8 to an attack for the dart trap, and if you hit, it's a damage of 2. If you miss, it's a damage of 1. So there's things in this game like encounters and traps and stuff which automatically do damage, which I just absolutely cannot stand. So let's do the trap. Yeah, that hits, so it does 2 damage to him. Alright, so it's a new turn. So he goes here and he's going to attack again with a +8. Shit, that's just a 12. Alright, that doesn't do anything, so the Wraith's going to attack again. He might die, lose it this turn. 9 +6, actually he doesn't hit. Alright, so let's do the stupid dart trap now. +8. That's an 18 total, so that does 2 damage to him. Alright, so let's go back to the hero phase. So he's going to try and attack that thing. Yeah, he hits it and kills it. So he gets a treasure. Your hero regains 1 hit point. That's good. He needs it. And he moves to here, which puts out a new dungeon tile. And on the dungeon tile we draw a monster. That's a blazing skeleton. So we'll do our encounter for this turn. Attack each hero with a +7. This is another one where it does either 2 damage or 1 damage, so I can't stand the automatic damage. That's not enough to hit him. Alright, so if he's within 1 tile of a hero, it attacks each hero with a ball of fire, so that's what he does with a +7. So that's a 26, so that hits and he takes 2 damage. And now the trap goes off again. 14, not good enough. So it's the next turn. And he moves over here to attack the skeleton. Skeleton has 2 hit points though. 7 plus 8 is 15. So the skeleton loses a hit point. Alright, now there's an encounter. Bat Swarm, whenever a hero attacks a monster that's not on his tile, that hero makes that attack roll twice and uses a lower result. Alright, that's pretty useless. So now the monster attacks with a +7. So that's a total of 19, and he does 2 damage. So the Dragonborn is knocked out again. Alright. So it's a new turn. He spends his last healing surge to get 5 hit points. And he stands back up and he attacks the Wraith. And so that's a total of 18, so the Wraith is dead, and he gets a treasure. This treasure will allow you to re-roll the die. So he moves here. And a new dungeon tile comes up. They move this stuff out of the way. This game takes up a lot of space. So that goes there. And now Strahd is awoken. So let's put out his card. His card, I'll put it right here. Alright, Strahd's on the battlefield, so he starts right here. So let's see what kind of monster comes here. Draw a monster card, and it's a gargoyle. Those are pretty tough. So the monster comes out, and there's no encounter this turn. So since the gargoyle is within 1 tile of a hero, it moves the closest hero and attacks. So it moves to here and attacks with a +8. So that's 16, so he actually missed. So we go to a new turn, and the hero's going to attack the gargoyle with a +8. So he hits him. So that has only 1 hit point left. So now it's time to do encounters. So he's gonna, let's draw the encounter. He might cancel it. It's a gray ooze, so he'll cancel it by paying 5 monster cards, or 5 experience points rather. So he pays these to cancel the gray ooze. So now the gargoyle goes, and he's going to attack with a +8. So yeah, he hits him. So he goes from 5 to 3. Alright, there's a 5 to 3, and he's slowed. If I can find the slowed marker here. Here it is. So his speed is reduced to 2, and he discards this as the end of his hero phase. And now Strahd goes. Since Strahd is far away, he moves 2 tiles towards the nearest hero. Strahd is tough. Alright, so the hero phase starts again. So he's going to attack the damn gargoyle. So 18 plus 8, 26, so that gargoyle is dead. And get a treasure card. I still got one to re-roll the dice that I forgot about. You can move your speed or make an attack. Interesting. This has to be played immediately. So I'll just move my speed to there. And then we'll draw a dungeon tile. It's going to be an encounter this turn, so let's draw the encounter. Alright, so I'm just going to place him within 1 tile of you that has the most monsters, or if no tile is within 1 tile of you has monsters, takes 1 damage. So I'm just going to pay 5 experience points to get rid of that card. 3, 4, 5. So that's gone. Alright, now Strahd will move 2. Alright, new turn. Sequence of play, he'll move to here. Place that there. And it gets a monster card. It's a blazing skeleton again. First thing we do is resolve the encounter. Place the active hero on each monster on his or her tile on the tile farthest from the active hero. I'm not going to do that, so I'm just going to cancel it. Oh, I can't, so I guess I have to, so there they are. Alright, so now it's time for the monster to attack. He's got a +7. So he does 2 damage. So I have 1 life left. I'm going to die soon. Alright, so now Strahd's turn. He goes 1, 2. Alright, and so we go back to sequence of play, the hero phase. Alright, move and make an attack. I'm just going to make an attack. 12, so they'll, +8, they'll do 1 damage to him. Now we have an encounter. The active hero swaps positions with the monster that is farthest from him or her. So we'll swap positions with that. Interesting. Alright, and then this moves 1 tile closer. So I'll just move him to there. And Strahd will move 2 tiles towards me. So he's there. This is not looking good. Alright, so we go back to the hero phase. So I'm going to do 2 moves. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Alright, so we get an encounter again. So it attacks with a +6 and can do up to 3 damage. So 10 plus 6 is 16, so I survived that. I needed the 17. So Strahd moves 2 to there, and that will move 1. Alright, so let's go back to here. Oops. Sequence of play, he's going to move away. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that so we'll have an encounter again. So, +8. So that hits me and I die, and I have lost. Alright, we'll get into the review next. Alright, now for the review portion of the video. Just to let you guys know where I got this. I actually got this at a convention. It was used for $20. It was just missing 2 figures, but it's still completely playable. If you happen to need those 2 figures, you can just proxy them with something else. So, let's start with the bad stuff. First part of the game I didn't like is there's no zones of control. What that means is normally in like a war game or something, if you move into an adjacent space to an enemy, you have to stop, and usually there's rules for moving away and stuff. You can't just move away like in regular 5th edition D&D. If you just move away from contact with another or with a monster, then the monster gets to take a swipe at you when you move away. That doesn't happen in this, so I guess there's really no zone of control. So the other thing I didn't like is the trap rules. Traps are just treated like monsters, kind of, so I just found them to be a real pain, and what happens is you get the trap comes onto the battlefield, and you can't try and get rid of it until it's already tried to go off. So first on the same turn it comes onto the battlefield, you roll to see if it damages you. Sometimes there's automatic damage, meaning like it would do 2 damage if it had a successful roll, and if it didn't, you took 1 damage. And then on your next turn in your hero phase, you can try, instead of doing an attack, you can try to disable the trap. And if you don't do that, if you just leave it or whatever, then it will attack you again that turn, just like a monster. So I wasn't a fan of the trap rules. One other thing about this game, it has encounter cards and it has monster cards. One thing I didn't like, every tile you go onto automatically has a monster. There's never like a monster card that you flip it over when you get to that tile and it says, oh, hooray, there's no monster here or something. There's always a monster, and there's too many encounters and stuff in this game. I felt that the encounter and monster cards could have been combined into one, so if you move onto a tile, you just turn over an encounter card, and the encounter card might tell you there's a monster there, might tell you something happened, or there might even be some treasure there or something. I thought all that stuff could have been combined. I thought the treasure cards could have been combined with the monster cards too, so when you defeat the monster, the monster card on the bottom says what kind of treasure you had, but I don't know. That's just my opinion. Yeah, going back to the traps, I actually have a note written here. The note says you should just be able to roll and try to dodge the trap, or it goes off as soon as it goes onto the battlefield. That's an idea that might have been more interesting. And you saw me play this just solo, and as you saw, I made some mistakes during the game because it's hard to play the game and run the camera and try to keep everything in the viewfinder. But yeah, I made a few mistakes, but I hope you got the idea about how the game plays. But that was solo, and there's many scenarios in this where you play with more than one character. So what this game needs for when you play with more than one character is a flanking role, meaning that if there's a monster on a tile, you can be on one side, and if you're on the exact opposite side, one of your buddies has his character there, then you get some kind of flanking bonus or something that would help you work together. Because I found that some of these scenarios that are done with more than one character, I tried doing them with just one character, and on some of them, it was actually easier to win the scenario just using one character than having 2 on board. The problem with multiple characters, and when each one goes, an encounter happens, and sometimes the encounter is something where it says each player character takes 2 damage. Well, if you have 3 characters fighting at once, I mean, you're going to have 3 times as many encounters, so in some aspects it's more difficult to play the game with other players than it is to play with just one player character. So I don't know, I just feel that there should have been something to give you a bigger benefit for having more characters on board. And let's see here. I didn't like the automatic damage that happens with a lot of the encounters and the monsters and stuff. It's like stuff where if you roll successful, then there's 2 damage, or if you fail, there's 1 damage. I thought that, I mean, that happens with some stuff in regular D&D too, but I felt it happened too much in this game, so too much automatic damage. And there's a player character, I forget the name of it, I don't know if it was a rogue or the ranger, one of the two. And with that one, if it moves adjacent to a monster, it automatically, its attack automatically hits and it does 1 damage. So having a character that automatically does damage every time it moves next to a monster, I don't know, just didn't feel right to me. As far as the good things, it's easy to learn. The playing time's pretty reasonable. Most games resolve within an hour, so that's good. The miniatures are fantastic. I give the components for this game a 9.6 out of 10. The only reason I didn't give it a 10 out of 10 is because there's a few games out there with better components, like some of the Games Workshop ones, like Space Hulk. The miniatures are slightly better in that game, I thought, than for this. But 9.6 out of 10, that's very good for components. As far as originality, not very original. It's just basically a watered down version of 4th edition D&D. I'd give it an originality like a 6 maybe. As far as fun, I'd give it about a 6. It's mostly a dice rolling game. There's not that many decisions and stuff, and a lot of stuff is out of your hands. And replayability is pretty good because there's quite a few scenarios. I forget how many. I don't know if it was 10 or something like that, or maybe it was even more than that. But there's more than enough scenarios, so you won't complain there's not enough scenarios. So I don't know, maybe replayability, I don't know, maybe an 8 or something. Some of these scenarios you're not going to want to play again. That's the only reason I didn't give it higher. Like the first scenario that we just played here, you're not going to play that all the time. But overall, it's okay for a dungeon delve. It's something you're going to play while you're waiting for people to show up for D&D or something. It doesn't hold a stick to some of the more sophisticated dungeon delves. There's far better dungeon delves out there, but I paid $20 for this because it was missing 2 figures. So for something I got used for $20, I feel it was worth it. But if I would have paid full retail for this, I don't think it would have been worth it. Maybe if you wanted the miniatures or something, because like I said, there are significantly better dungeon delves out there. But anyhow, that's my review. Hope you liked it. And if you have any questions or any comments, feel free to post your question. Have a good one.